Hi, I'm Kevin,
And I'm Amanda.
and we are serving up
All that jam.
All That Jam, Quick Hit. Pigeons Playing Ping Pong's Greg Ormont in the studio.
Where did you record?
We record our albums here in Baltimore at a great place called Right Way Studios. It's an amazing studio, and we work with the owner, Steve Wright, for the past, I don't know how many albums, like 5 or something like that. So, with that comes a lot of comfort. We are extremely relaxed there. Steve knows all of our little idiosyncrasies. He knows when like we're individually hitting a wall or not. Like he can kind of sense, yeah, do another take, see if we can get it, or like you need a break, go, take a walk for 15 minutes, and that has just feeling comfortable in the space is an underrated portion of recording or in anything. It's like that set and setting kind of vibe to feel comfortable to let it rip. So yeah, it's been great. And it's funny that it's in Baltimore, and since there's so much like nice gear in there, you would walk by it and have no idea there's a beautiful studio. It's just a brick wall, and inside is just all the gear you'd ever want. So it's very camouflaged in the Baltimore setting.
Right.
That's
Did you all talk
fantastic.
about
I love that you.
did you all talk about
Go ahead.
perspective? I was just curious because so perspective came out, I guess a year and a half ago or so. I was curious about that one in terms of the timing of it. So many people that we chat with have either already released or are releasing music that was written during kind of quarantine times, or during that era. And I was curious if we could talk a little bit about that album, if it came out of that moment, or maybe it was something that you all had kind of already been working on.
You know, um, we write so much music, like it's
Mhm.
just something we always have done. And if memory serves, again, with the caveat that I am a terrible rememberer, I think we had written most of those pre-COVID. Um, and this next album kind of at the time of recording kind of caught us up on our most of our older material. But in fact, this next album is one of the first ones that really is like all from the same time frame of like from kind of COVID on. Whereas we've been kind of playing catch up, and by that I mean there may be 10 fresher songs and one or two from the older days, the previous era, just to get them on wax, just get them recorded. But now I think, again, by the time we recorded, it was catching us up in like the same era of writing. But then we just started writing again. So like we have such a stock of unrecorded music that like when we finished recording this most recent record, we could already pretty much record the next. And time has elapsed since then. We could probably record two. So it's a good problem to have, but we just play so much music live that it's more fun to debut new material. We just debuted 2 songs over the New Year's run, and we have more coming. So um, I don't know if that really answered your question, but uh, I wouldn't say that they were all born from COVID, but they did power us through COVID in that we had something to focus our energy on. We had the ability to continue to, you know, have a goal when you can't tour. Like, what are we training for besides, just getting better, which is part of it. And it was nice to have like an objective to point toward and to invest our energy and thoughts into during that crazy time.
Is it going to have a P?
I
Is it going to have a P for the title?
don't know, man. I'll tell you this: like, if we continue to do P's for every record in 30 years, it's going to be very confusing because it already is confusing. This does not help my memory, when the albums are pizzazz, presto, perspective. Like it gets a little confusing. So we'll see.
Do you feel like the titles that you've picked reflect what the albums are?
Largely, I mean, talk about a time to have perspective with 2022, right? And that was thoughtful in that sense. And then psychology references the origin of the band name, where the psychologist B.F. Skinner taught pigeons to peck a ball back and forth. So that kind of kick-started that. But I don't know. It's interesting. It's difficult to name an album, but if you're given all the words and phrases in the world, it's even harder. So when we found ourselves in this P kind of road, it did make our choices a little more manageable. It gave us some direction. But like I said, there are tons of, I mean, we could do P names till we drop. I know that,
Right.
but then we're shutting out all these 25 other beautiful letters and words and phrases. There's got to be something else out there, right?
Yeah. Well, if there's one thing it's that your fans will be on it if that happens. And,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
before you even know it.
Isn't that funny? Like, it's so, it is such a strange perspective from our end, where like if we were to change that, people would care, and that is bizarre. Because I'll tell you this: no one cared when we called it psychology, 10+ years ago, or not no one, but not as many. So it is funny, but it's very important not to think about that, because like similar to All Right Tonight, we felt that vibe, and maybe the fans would be expecting something higher energy, but as soon as you start thinking about what others think of what you're doing, it just gets watered down, and it's not as authentic. So it's important for us to like kind of block out that noise. And if we want to call it something with a P, or we want to call it something else, like we got to trust our gut, because once you stop doing that, you're not even behind the wheel anymore.
Is it going to be self-released again?
Essentially, yeah. In the past few years, our management has started a label, an independent label, who helps us, you know, just release it in the appropriate way. But we're not, we have not gotten that call for a record deal, and I'm
Right.
not sure we'd want one.
Right. I was going to ask you, how important is it to have a label these days? It seems like a label would do 90% less. It would do 10% of what it used to do, the way the system is structured now.
I mean, frankly, you're asking the wrong person, because we've self-released every album, and I'm still in a band, so it's gone fine. Who knows if it would have gotten better, but I don't have
Well, no,
debt
I'm
to
saying
any
that
large corporations.
right. I feel like that all a label would do at this point maybe is take a percentage, maybe help with the distribution thing, but there's no longer, we're going to give you an advance, we're going to set you up in the studio, we're going to promote your tour kind of thing. The album no longer supports you no longer tour for the album. You tour to stay alive, and you release the album as not an afterthought, but as, all right, here's where we are, a snapshot in time.
That's exactly what an album is. That's how I view it too. And yes, granted, we've pretty much caught the. I mean, I think albums are still fantastic. I still listen to albums front to back, but I recognize that essentially like the business model of today's music industry is, tickets and T-shirts, touring, and that's what we've always done, and it's really fun. So people have beef with Spotify and how much money they give out for that, and how that affects albums, and what making money back on what the cost of albums is, because regardless of the model, it still costs quite a bit to make an album. Um, I am grateful for the exposure we get from all of those things. And, would I like a larger percentage of a penny on our streams? Sure, who wouldn't? But honestly, like when the Spotify Wrapped kind of summary comes out at the end of the year, and it says there's 173 countries listening to your music, man, like that. What more would you want? That's what the record label was promising, right? Is to get your music out to the world, and I'll take the win.
We did the thing for the podcast, and there were a bunch of other countries, and we were like, "Who are these people in other countries listening to?"
Who's translating these conversations?
Oh
Right?
God, yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, that's a really, I have to say, I find that perspective very honest, and also, what can we do? I mean, none of us are going to be able, at least right now, to change that system. So if we can find something within all that that is positive, like you're saying, the exposure. I mean, how many people find bands through those suggestions and the algorithms or whatever, and then they come and support you and see you live and buy the shirts and everything. So,
Hopefully, yeah.
Or
yeah,
even
yeah,
or even just like, oh, you got to check this band out, and you can immediately. Like you're not going to Virgin Records to buy the CD and make good on the, oh yeah, I definitely will. Or you could send someone a link, and if they all they have to do is click it, whether they do or not is fine. And yeah, hopefully people buy T-shirts. But truly, like we love doing this. We've always have this, and it's just like our passion is such an understatement that whether people are sharing it or not, like obviously that would be great, but like we're so fulfilled just being able to do this sustainably and still after 15 years.
Yeah, it's fascinating. The whole thing is fascinating now. So now, when is this album coming out?
It's coming out in 2024, and I am incredibly proud of it. Like I mentioned, it really feels like you said, an album is just a snapshot of a band, and this particular record feels that way because we did not have songs that were, from the old days tossed in just to give the studio treatment. It really was, you know, I mean, we're always writing. We're not the band that's like, all right, let's write 11 songs and put it on an album. It's more so like, okay, we have 35 songs we haven't recorded. Which ones would feel right and which ones would work together? And these ones are all, it really does feel like a snapshot of our band. The funny thing being is that you record it and then there's like a bunch of, all the PR and the distribution that you line up, and you put a single out and you wait a little while and then you put another single out, and by the time it comes out it's a new snapshot of the band, right? Which is why I guess we keep recording. But at the time it was recorded, it really feels like us. So I hope people can kind of hear a little more cohesion in the songwriting, in the jam style, in our individual playing. And like I said, it was the most relaxed we felt in the studio because we love playing live. Not everyone loves the studio. Some people love the studio and don't like to play live. I am a live guy. So I think with this being our 7th album, I finally was able to like stop overthinking, let the music come to me. I took a solo, our bassist took a solo, our drummer took a solo. All 4 of us for the first time recorded a solo on the record, which again, I think shows just like the comfort level, which is why I do think the, having comfort in the studio is often overlooked. Like, yes, there's aesthetics to it, but even just a familiarity is really helpful for us.
Awesome, very cool. Great.
So is there anything, Greg, that you would like to throw out?
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like we covered a lot of cool ground. I think that, we have the new record coming out, and like I mentioned, like there's so much more on the horizon. The thing about our scene is that it's kind of like celebrate the past and also what's next. And for us, we love the what's next, and we've been writing tons of music and getting back out on the road to debut it and play our stuff and continue to evolve and grow. So I don't know, like our whole thing is just to like kind of spread that positive energy, whether it's in the studio, whether it's live. And hopefully after our show, if you're feeling great, I hope people just kind of
buy the shirt.
Yeah.
So you're okay with the jam band label, right?
Yeah, that's what we are, man. Yeah. I mean, we also play. It's just not like that's not that doesn't mean. I think it's a good thing. Like it means that we're not pigeonholed to one genre. We play. There are Latin sections, there are island beats, there are rock songs, there are almost metalish songs that we've started to play. And then there's these groovy, soulful songs and almost jazzy numbers. And mainly the bread and butter is funk. But like jam to me just means like open-minded. and that each show is going to be different, and it's a choose your own adventure. And no, I don't think jam band is a dirty word.
There you go. Yeah, that's what I always say. You say it's like it's a bad thing.
No, man, we improvise. I would be so bored if we didn't improvise. Not, I mean, it would still beat the 9 to 5, but like I love the feeling of not knowing where we're headed, but I have like a hunch where we're going. But again, you drop the ego and take the ride, you know?
If you are enjoying All That Jam, please like and subscribe to our social media channels at All That Jam Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, or visit our website, allthatjampod.com. Make sure to sign up for our email list and tune in every week for new episodes.
Also, look for full interviews on our YouTube channel. And remember, stay beautiful, but don't stay underground too long.